Welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. Last week, some interesting news appeared surrounding Nvidia and the GeForce Partner Program. It didn't quite make the cut in time for last week's episode of News Corner, but it is a pretty big story, so we felt it kind of deserves its own separate video and more in-depth discussion. So firstly, full credit to Kyle Bennett from Hard OCP for uncovering this story after a few weeks of hard work. Please go and read his story, which talks at length about everything you need to know. Plus, of course, it's always good to support the original authors of stories like this. Anyway, this story, or perhaps controversy, begins with the Nvidia GeForce Partner Program, or GPP for short. The GPP was quietly established by Nvidia as a new program for establishing partnerships with OEMs, AIBs, etc. to essentially work closely with Nvidia on new products, product launches, marketing, and so forth. Around 2 weeks ago, after Hard OCP began their investigation into GPP, Nvidia's Director of Partner Marketing, John Teeple, put up a blog post outlining the GPP in their words. Most of this blog post is pure Nvidia marketing speak, but a couple of lines are interesting. Firstly, Nvidia claims the GPP is designed to ensure that gamers have full transparency into the GPU platform and software they're being sold, and can confidently select products that carry the Nvidia GeForce promise. The blog post continues, this transparency is only possible when Nvidia brands and partner brands are consistent. So the new program means that we'll be promoting our GPP partner brands across the web, on social media, at events and more. And GPP partners will get early access to our latest innovations and work closely with our engineering team to bring the newest technologies to gamers. Partners are signing up fast. They see the benefit of keeping brands and communication consistent and transparent. The program isn't exclusive. Partners continue to have the ability to sell and promote products from anyone. Partners choose to sign up for the program and they can stop participating at any time. There's no commitments to make any monetary payments or product discounts for being part of the program. So there's a couple of key things to note here. Firstly, Nvidia mentions transparency several times, but it's not clear what Nvidia is actually referring to. Is it transparency into who Nvidia partners with for the GPP? Does the GPP now provide transparency into the partnerships Nvidia have held with OEMs and AIBs for years? Either way, as Hard OCP points out, despite this transparency, it's actually not clear at all what companies are part of the GPP. The second interesting point is Nvidia's statement that the GPP isn't exclusive. In fact, partners can continue to sell and promote products from anyone, according to the blog post, and we'll get into that shortly. And this is where the investigation begins. Now, on the surface, it doesn't sound like there is anything inherently wrong with the GPP. It just sounds like a typical partnership arrangement between Nvidia and OEMs, delivering both sides mutual benefits like additional marketing and brand placement. But when you look into the GPP and speak with the companies involved, as Kyle did, questions of anti-competitive and anti-consumer behavior arise. While investigating the GPP, Kyle from Hard OCP spoke with 7 companies, none of which wanted to go on the record. However, they did speak anonymously about the GPP, and according to Kyle, all the people he spoke to had similar opinions about the program. Kyle summarizes the opinions as follows. The terms of the GPP agreement are potentially illegal, the GPP will hurt consumer choices, and the GPP will hurt a partner's ability to do business with other companies like AMD and Intel. These opinions stem from a key component of the GPP agreement document, which Kyle read but decided not to publish. This component states that GPP partners must have their gaming brand aligned exclusively with GeForce. In other words, if a company like Asus wanted to join the GPP, they would not be allowed to sell AMD graphics cards in their Republic of Gamers products. No more ROG branded Radeon video cards, and no more ROG laptops with AMD graphics inside. Of course, it is up to the partners whether they want to be part of the GPP and accept these terms. Nvidia isn't explicitly forcing anyone to sign up, but there are some pretty significant consequences of not signing up. Specifically, the GPP provides benefits to partners such as launch partner status, high-effort engineering engagements, marketing development funds, social media and PR support, game bundling, and more. And you can start to see the problem here. The GPP requires participants to align their gaming brands exclusively with GeForce, and if they don't sign up to the program, direct competitors that are part of the GPP will get special treatment from Nvidia. So there is a pretty strong incentive for OEMs and AIBs to sign up, otherwise they'll be left in the dust by the dominant player in the graphics market. And it allegedly goes beyond the terms outlined in the GPP document. Some AIBs expressed concerns that if they do not sign up to the GPP, Nvidia would restrict GPU allocations and preference GPP members instead. This isn't in the GPP agreement itself, but is allegedly happening through under-the-table agreements. There are so many problems with this GeForce partner program, it's hard to know where to begin. The biggest issue is OEMs and AIBs are essentially forced into signing up to remain competitive among Nvidia partners. If they don't join the GPP, they won't get benefits like marketing development funds or launch partner status. And if a competitor does join, they will receive a genuine advantage, which puts anyone that decides not to join the GPP in a difficult and disadvantageous position. And then on top of this, Nvidia is requiring participants to align their gaming brands with GeForce exclusively. So these OEMs and AIB partners that basically have to join the GPP to remain competitive now cannot use their gaming brand on AMD, Intel, or any other competitor's products. Sure, an AIB partner could technically still sell an AMD GPU under a non-gaming brand, but the gaming brands are almost always the biggest and most attractive to gamers. The GPP is essentially shoving Nvidia's competitors into less attractive brands or out of an OEM's portfolio entirely, and again, it'll be very hard for an OEM to compete among those in the Nvidia market without agreeing to do this. The end result is less competition and less consumer choice. An everyday buyer looking for a graphics card for gaming would see almost exclusively Nvidia products from partners that join the GPP. AMD products would be pushed over to one side and bullied out of the market by an agreement that OEMs and AIBs would find very difficult not to sign. And there's quite a stark difference between what Nvidia is saying publicly about the GPP and what the actual document allegedly states. Nvidia claims the program isn't exclusive, yet the agreement asks for exclusivity with the partner's main gaming brand. Nvidia claims partners can stop participating at any time, but in reality, if they do, they'll be putting themselves in a disadvantageous position. Nvidia claims the program is about transparency, but no one is saying which companies are actually part of the GPP. This sort of behavior is a prime candidate for investigation by regulators. Intel has been stung and stung hard by regulators in the US and Europe for anti-competitive conduct, and I think they will find the Nvidia GeForce partner program of particular interest. And the whole situation is a bit puzzling as well. Nvidia already holds a dominant market position with their GeForce graphics products. They are already the most popular brand among buyers, they are essentially unopposed at the high end, and aspects of their technology are ahead of their nearest competitor. There is no need to force OEMs into only selling Nvidia products. Buyers were already mostly buying Nvidia stuff anyway, and there really aren't any signs of that changing. It's also a case, like with Intel's rise to power, of Nvidia finding themselves in a dominant position, and rather than investing a ton of money into making better products, they've decided to come up with ways of crippling their competition instead. And it's not the first time we've seen these sort of practices with Nvidia. GameWorks has famously been a source of angst among the gaming community, with Nvidia partnering with game developers to integrate their effects that mostly cripple performance on AMD GPUs, and sometimes hurt Nvidia performance too, while providing little visual benefit. Hairworks, for example, notoriously overused tessellation to harm AMD performance, while AMD's competing technology, TressFX, actually provided better performance on both Nvidia and AMD hardware. TressFX was an open technology that didn't really gain much traction, while Nvidia signed partnerships to ensure Hairworks was used instead. And AMD are clearly concerned about the GPP, as they were the ones that shopped around this story in the first place, as Hard OCP acknowledges. It's always interesting when a company pitches people like us with negative stories on competitors. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does, someone at the company is usually pretty annoyed with the practices of their competitor. And these sorts of practices end up hurting every consumer in the long run, not just one side or one fan base. And they really have no place in the market. Competition is healthy, and we're all a bit sick of companies abusing their dominant position to further their own interests rather than using it to create a vibrant hardware landscape. Let us know what you think of the GeForce Partner Program in the comments below. I'm very interested to hear what you guys think of Nvidia's dodgy practices, to say the least. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and consider supporting us through our Patreon at patreon.com/hardwareunboxed. I'll catch you guys in the next one.